Good afternoon. Welcome to the pillow. Uh, we'll try it. How's that? That way? That way? Good. It's actually turned out to be a beautiful day, and you all look great in it because we're particularly happy to be celebrating an important, very meaningful part of our past that we at the Pillow talk about a fair amount, and we like to celebrate with the wider community. And the history of the Pillow, having been a family farm in the 1700s, was owned by the Carter family, and you'll meet some of them later. But I am very proud to say that several of the Carter descendants are here, and I would like to acknowledge Charles Carter and his family. And it was the Carter family that helped slaves escape to freedom, and that the Pillow was a station on the Underground Railroad in the mid-1800s. Another pioneer came along later, who maybe some of you are equally or more familiar with, Ted Shawn. And we always think of the Pillow in the total meaning of it, as a place of pioneering effort from the get-go. And to focus on this part of our pre-dance history today, although I should mention that there were artists going back to 1942, Asadada Dafora is reputed to be one of the first artists from Africa who performed on the concert stage in the United States right here at Jacob's Pillow. Warren Davis, who was an entrepreneur, an African-American entrepreneur, very important person in this community, also knew the skills of hand-hewn lumber. And the Ted Shawn Theater, which was the first theater in the United States built specifically for dance, was built in 1942. And there's a wonderful picture of Warren Davis in front of the theater that he helped build with his own hands. Again, with their own hands, people did so much who came before us. So I honor those people today. I want to thank many people, all of you here, of course, and a few in particular. On behalf of the staff and the board of directors of the Pillow, I'd like to acknowledge the chairman of the board of the Pillow, Neil Chrisman, and his wife, Kathleen. And also people we have worked with in the community over a period of time, who are our neighbors, who are our friends, who are people who really know the Pillow way before I was here, way before many of us were here. And they are esteemed members of our community, and I'm happy to acknowledge the people who have made this effort come to fruition. Elaine Gunn, Ray Gunn. There's always talk, are they related? Are they married? Are they brother, sister? First cousins? Cousins by marriage. Rachel Fletcher and Frances Jones Sneed, who are the co-directors of the Upper Housatonic African American Heritage Trail. That's as much of a mouthful as it was to get the whole effort together. Norton Owen, who many of you know as our director of preservation, we always refer to Norton as the griot of Jacob's Pillow, and Norton contributed a chapter to the book that you just saw there about the Upper Housatonic Valley African American Heritage Trail. But Norton has put in a tremendous amount of work cooperating with many people in this community to make this day happen. Norton, I acknowledge you. Thank you so much. And Joanna Highgood, some of you will have already seen this production, Invisible Wings, which speaks to both the creation of new work, which we like to do at the Pillow, but where new work and history stand side by side very proudly here, because that was a commissioned work at the Pillow, and it happens to be about the story of the Carter family and the Pillow as a station on the Underground Railroad, among other things, and brings that tradition into contemporary life right now. And this is Joanna Highgood, Artistic Director of Zacco Dance Theater. And I also want to acknowledge our champions who are in the community working. They're political people, you know, and that means a lot of things to people, right? To us, it means that you work closely in contact with the community, hand to hand, face to face. They're not sitting in an office. They are here with us all the time, and they support the arts. Smitty Pignatelli, Dennis Geyer. With great appreciation for all your spirit, for honoring us on this day, we honor you in return for giving our history ever greater meaning. And I'm going to introduce Elaine and Ray. Thank you.
Thank you, Ella. Good evening. Thank you for coming to this very special day at Jacob's Pillow. As the Pillow winds down its 75th season, 75 years of dance, theater, education, and entertainment. On behalf of the Upper Housatonic Valley African American Heritage Trail, I feel honored and privileged to have been asked to present this plaque to formally dedicate Jacob's Pillow as a site on the African American Heritage Trail for its commitment to African Americans in their time of greatest need before the Civil War, and for its dedication to all of the dancers of color who've graced Jacob's Pillow's stage as headliners, performers, teachers, and students beginning in 1942. I'd like to mention at this time that the Jacob's Pillow is the second site that the Heritage Trail has honored. The first one was last fall in Ashley Falls at the Colonel Ashley House in honor of Mum Bet, a slave, of course, who was in the Ashley House and who had the courage to step forward and to attempt to and finally did succeed in winning her freedom in 1781. We of African descent owe a special debt of gratitude to Jacob's Pillow, with very special thanks to the Carter family, in particular, a family who risked their own freedom and risked possibly being fined as they harbored fugitive slaves in the Pillow Barn before the Civil War, and then helped them escape to Canada, possibly in false bottom wagons of the day. The Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 prohibited individuals from helping escaped slaves, as you know. The Carter family efforts as abolitionists are well known in this area. A plaque honoring the Pillow was presented to them in 2003 and made the Pillow a National Historic Landmark. And of course, it may be seen in front of the Welcome Center today. On behalf of our ancestors, Carter family members, to your ancestors, a proud and hearty thank you. And one last note, I would like to mention that we were here as part of the audience for the first interactive production of Invisible Wings in 1998. And we felt as though we were witnessing an actual event of the time, an escaped slave being pursued. That performance was riveting and exciting, and I am delighted that it's being presented again this evening. You're in for a real treat, thanks to Joanna Highgood and her company. I thank you.
Never be at a loss for words. Good afternoon again. Thank goodness it's not raining, so we're going to have a nice afternoon, and I'm really honored to be here. It seems as though the Gunn family gets mentioned in quite a few things here in the community and in Berkshire County, and I'm just proud to be one of those. Of course, I'm on the tail end, but anyway, those that went before us, I appreciate all the things that they've done, and we're now ending up living a little bit of their life and sort of getting some of the honor bestowed upon us. Though, in my own case, I don't think I could ever live up to what some of the ones that have already passed have done. And today I would like to just say a few words about my uncle, Warren H. Davis. Now, my Uncle Warren was born back in 1864, and he was born down in North Carolina. So now you might wonder how he got up here. Well, there was a gentleman down there in Great Barrington by the name of William Stanley. Now, if you go back in history books, you can find out he had something to do with electricity and all that sort of stuff. Well, he hired Warren Davis to look after his horses and things like that. And Warren was so good at it that he brought him up to Massachusetts to do the same job. Now, once Warren got up here in Massachusetts, his attention was diverted to other things, like he stayed out in the woods a lot, he liked agriculture, and he was going to be a farmer. Well, he did go to school over at the old Massachusetts Agricultural School, that's now UMass, which is my alma mater also. But he went there and he graduated, and he was supposed to be an expert in dairy farming. Well, that only lasted a little while. That was boring, so he changed his attention and he went into forestry. Very good choice. And as was stated earlier by Ella, he was picked by the principals here at Jacob's Pillow to go out into the forest and find the wood that they would like to use for the beams in the main building. And he picked each one, and he hand-hewed each one. That, to me, I don't know, it's mind-boggling. But I'm glad he did it, you know. I didn't have to help it because I don't think I would have been able to. But anyway, when you look at that story and you find out just how important this person was in the area at that time, he had to be respected by quite a few people, and he was. I believe every lumberman in the area at that time, and there are some lumber people around right now in Great Barrington, Sheffield, and all around that at one time or another had an association with Warren Davis. You can think of Bobby Area Lumber down in Great Barrington. It used to be. You can go down to DeVries in Sheffield. He has an association. All of these people, because Warren Davis used to own 5,000 acres on Beartown Mountain. And then he sold it to the state, and it started the forest. But he was only interested in the timber rights. So even though he bought the land and sold it, he maintained the timber rights to make his money. But he liked the good life, so he couldn't hang on to it too long. So he had his own problems then. But he did enjoy life and things like that. Now, Warren Davis was involved in quite a few things in Great Barrington. He was an outstanding citizen in Great Barrington, and he was one of those in the black community whom you could always count on to help out. He was a great addition to help out with the Clinton AME Zion Church down in Great Barrington. He helped them on several occasions to get out of debt and to maintain their church. He also helped other lumber people who were just coming in. He would help them to get a start. He would also take them out into the woods to show them the different trees and just how to cut and also how to estimate. I remember going out in the forest with him at times, and I knew nothing about trees and all of that. Still don't, for that matter. But he could go out there and he could look at a tract of land, and he'd say, "Ray, you know, if we bought this section right here, we can get so many board feet of lumber out of the trees that are standing here. And I'm looking at him. Of course, I was young then, too. And I'd say, how do you know that? He said, well, you take the tree, you see how tall it is, and he could stand here and look at that tree and tell you how tall it was. And he could tell you how many board feet he could get out of it, which I thought was amazing. But that type of knowledge he had, and it came into play whenever he did big jobs. So even on this job here at Jacob's Pillow, he was getting paid pretty good per month just to go out and get the wood. So he was well known, and he was a nice guy. Too nice at times because other people took advantage of him. And even though they did that, he did live on Rossiter Street. He lived in the house where we now have the radio station WAMC. And in his later years, he moved up to Stockbridge, where the Gunn family had a home site on East Main Street, just past the Berkshire Playhouse. It's not there anymore. It's a shame it was demolished, but it would have been one of those natural-looking houses like the Mission House. But anyway, he died in Stockbridge, and when he died, it was one of those things where you said, here lies a man that gave a lot to the community, and we're glad he came our way. But those things do happen, and we do have to continue on. And so I'm thankful that the Pillow has taken the time to sort of honor him, and I'm also glad that the Pillow has been chosen as a site, historic site, on the Upper Houstonic Afro-American Heritage Trail. And that's why we're here today, and I want to thank you again for inviting me here, and good luck today and tonight, and I know the performance is going to be great. Thank you. Now, I'm not, I almost did, but I'm not going to forget that, you know, in this time, we talk so much about the government, and we talk so much about our representatives and things like that, that a lot of times you don't have good words to say about them. But today, we've got the man. We've got the man whom you can talk about and hold up high. He is for us in Berkshire County, and he's always with us. Whenever we need him, he shows up. And I've known him for a long time, and he'll tell you about the story. He'll tell you about the story where I called him out on strikes because he had the bases loaded in a full count. But he should have swung at it. That's all I've got to say. But anyway, our upcoming and our well-known state representative, Smitty Pignatelli. Come on up, Smitty.
We've got two good men here. Dennis Geyer, come on up. This is Dennis's district. I'm honored to be given a green card to get in here. That was a nice introduction, Ray, and we've been friends for a long time. And, you know, Ray's a very humble guy, but when he said he could look into a forest and not recognize one tree from the other, he couldn't tell a ball from a strike either. I tell you, that was ball 4, Ray. I was only 15 years old, but I'm still living it every day. But it's great to be here to join Dennis and his district on this absolutely wonderful day. Rachel Fletcher, where's Rachel? Rachel has taught me more about the African American Heritage Trail, along with Ray and Elaine Gunn, than I've ever known before. And there's a lot of the history right here in Berkshire County that we don't read about in the history books. I said this the other day at the Mumbet celebration. 226 years ago, this past week, Mumbet fought for and won her freedom. A very simple woman that really took some bold initiatives, not only as an African American, but as a female. To do what she did 226 years ago and be successful was really quite monumental. But I'm also so afraid that our young children aren't learning that history. And to have this dedication here today, the second of what, in my opinion, should be many, landmark dedications along this trail from North County all the way down into Connecticut. I thank you, Rachel, for allowing me to be part of this here today. And I think of Mum Bet, and I think of the sacrifices that African Americans made, both male and female. And I look at today and how far we've come. I was in New Orleans the other day, dealing with a friend of mine in New Orleans who's fighting to get back into his home as an African American 2 years after Katrina, which the 2-year celebration will be this coming week. And I know how far we have yet to go and how we treat minorities, and there's still so much discrimination in this country. But right here in our own backyard, Ella, 75-year anniversary. I still have 2 left feet. I should have taken lessons here years ago. But to have you celebrate this day in this historic place in American history, I tip my hat to you, and I'm just so honored and humbled to be here, and I congratulate all of you. I congratulate the Guns who are really leading this charge. Someone told me years ago, not that many years ago actually, that it's going to take rich people to fight for poor people. It'll take straight people to fight for gay people. It's going to take white people to fight for black people. And I think that's what we're doing here today. I look around this room. The Guns have been dear friends of mine for many, many years. And my father goes back many more years with the Gun family. And there was no racial prejudice in Berkshire County when I was young. But in America, it's still there. You know, we talked about my friend Cue Ball, who grew up in Lenox, Massachusetts. He was a black man. My father called him Cue Ball, not with any derogatory intent. Everybody had a nickname. He was Big John or Crazy Legs. My father, this was Cue Ball. And it wasn't until World War II that when he joined the service did he realize what the outside world was like. Because growing up in Berkshire County, he was very naive. He didn't understand the discrimination because he and my father slept over each other's houses like it was nothing. A white man having a black friend, that was not a big deal in the Berkshires at that time. When he joined the service, he realized that the blacks went this way, the whites went this way. The blacks ate here, the whites ate there. The blacks went to the bathroom here, and the whites went to the bathroom over there. He died a broken man because he learned a hard dose of reality of what America was like nearly 60 years ago. So to stand here with my friend Dennis Geyer, who I think is also a cheerleader for not only human rights, but civil rights and human rights, to celebrate this not only 75th anniversary, but this landmark African American Heritage Trail designation spot. I tip my hat to all of you, and I congratulate all of you. I guess I should introduce Dennis. Is that right? Okay. Dennis Geyer, your state representative. I'm honored to be allowed into your district.
Oh,
So I'm only here for a couple of hours. I'll turn in my card on the way out.
Yes, please report in.
Thank you very much. Dennis Geyer.
Smitty. Thank you. I now have the nickname Cue Ball, if anybody is wondering who has it. My honor and privilege to be here. I don't think I can really put more on top of what Smitty has said. I will say, though, when Ms. Gunn was speaking, I think Mr. Davis sent us all a message because a big branch, I don't know if anybody else saw it, but a huge branch fell out of one of these. I don't know if it fell or if a squirrel helped it fall, but I think a message was being sent to us about the trees. So I have a resolution from the Massachusetts House that I'd like to read for Jacob's Pillow. Ella, if you'd like to come up here, please, I'd like to present this to you formally. And I will say that, we are blessed in Berkshire County. And one of the things, when I started working several years ago with my friend Rachel Fletcher on the upper Housatonic Heritage Trail, I don't think we really understood how many historic sites there were around, or maybe Rachel did, I probably didn't, and particularly how many relate to the Underground Railroad and African American heritage. So, again, it's great to be here at this historic place, and I have a resolution that I will read from the Massachusetts House. It says, congratulating Jacob's Pillow on its dedication as a site on the Upper Housatonic Valley African American Heritage Trail. Whereas Jacob's Pillow has a rich history, which began when it first settled as a farm in the 1700s by the Carter family and served as an underground railroad station for slaves escaping to freedom in the 1800s. And whereas several of the buildings that once served as refuge for escaped slaves have been preserved on the grounds of Jacob's Pillow, and whereas Jacob's Pillow Dance Festival has fostered a broad and inclusive environment for dance since its founding by Ted Shawn, And whereas numerous pioneers of dance of the African tradition and African American culture have performed at Jacob's Pillow, including Sadada Dafora, who was the first to bring African dance to the concert stage, and whereas Jacob's Pillow Dance Festival maintains its dedication to promoting cultural diversity, including the African diaspora, therefore, be it resolved that the Massachusetts House of Representatives congratulates Jacob's Pillow on being dedicated as a site on the National Park Service's Upper Housatonic African American Heritage Trail, and be it further resolved that a copy of these resolutions be forwarded by the Clerk of the House of Representatives to Jacob's Pillow. And it was signed by the Speaker of the House, the Clerk of the House, and myself Friday afternoon. So congratulations, and thank you very much for having me.
He's able to do it without glasses. I can't do that.
I'm Norton Owen. I'm Director of Preservation here, and I want to thank all those who have spoken before because they've really covered everything, and I don't need to say much else except to kind of try to synthesize a bit of it as we unveil the plaque, which is the main attraction of what we're doing here today. I think much in the way that dance is a physical expression of things that may either be said or felt or expressed in some other ways. We are, by unveiling this plaque, going to try to make manifest all of those things that people have been talking about in the remarks that have gone before. The great meaningfulness of this place that has been given to us by the Carter family, by all of their actions in making the farm what it was, and by making the place of sanctuary here. And then also by the great artistry of Joanna Highgood, who has synthesized that history and brought it forward in a way that we would not have had it otherwise, and in a way that's powerful and meaningful to people today. So we could think of no better people to unveil this plaque than Charles Carter, a member of the Carter family, and Joanna Highgood, and I'd like to ask them to come up here and do the honors, please. You could stand on either side of the plaque. There you go. Yes, you are. This will be a permanent part of Jacob's Pillow. I'll just read it here. Jacob's Pillow Dance Festival, designated in 2007, a site on the Upper Housatonic Valley African American Heritage Trail. This site was a station on the Underground Railroad. African American entrepreneur Warren H. Davis helped construct the Ted Shawn Theater, the first theater in the United States, specifically for dance. From the theater's first season in 1942, featuring African dance pioneer Asadata Dafora, to today, the Pillow continues its commitment to present, teach, document, and support African and African American dance. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to invite you all to stay for us for some sweets and to visit with each other and to admire the plaque, congratulate each other for being part of this event. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Yeah.